Oh, got it. Okay. 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 Hello.
You're up. Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Today is a very special day on Innervision FM. Johnny's just getting a few things worked out.
Oh, Alan, you're not hearing the video?
Nope.
Oh.
So we had a little bit of dead airspace.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I'm hearing the video in my ear. So, okay, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to show a video, and I'm not sure why it's not showing.
You've got screen share up.
Oh, yeah, talk to the people while we do this.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Today's Wednesday, August 7th. I'm sorry, September 7th. Coming up on some anniversary dates. One being the anniversary of 9/11. We want to lift all those up who lost their lives on that day. Innervision FM is a musical organization that helps grassroots musicians, whether they're physically disabled or financially challenged or both, to achieve a modicum of visibility as they're starting out their new career. Some folks are younger, some folks are older. You can find a lot of interviews of recording artists that have been done in the past by visiting innervisionfm.com. We have 24-hour a day, 7-day a week programming through KINV-DB. And we're also on Comcast locally in Denver, Colorado on channel 56. You can find that show ostensibly on Wednesdays with some replay times. All of the listings are on innervisionfm.com's main website. Let's see. We want to talk a little bit about the sponsors to the show. Colorado Arts Relief Fund, Wells Fargo Foundation, Denver Foundation, Christian Brothers Moving Company, and Littleton Eye Clinic. These folks are good enough to sponsor this show. And if you want to become a sponsor, visit www.innervisionrecords. That's all one word, .org. And there's a schedule by which you can avail yourself and become a sponsor of the show. Now, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 9 to 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Johnnie J and I, Alan C, do a sort of talk show that talks about like some current events, what's going on in the world these days. Try to keep you abreast of some of the goings on within our United States of America and abroad throughout the world. We're just a couple of blind dudes. Don't have much in the way of journalistic acumen, that kind of thing. But we do try to bring current events to you, things that you might find of interest. If you have topics that you want to have featured on the show, go ahead and email us at info@Innervision FM, and in the subject line, just kind of title it, I don't know, topics list or something like that. We'll review that within 24 hours, and we'll get back with you. What else? Okay, so what else have we got here?
Yes, Alan, we almost got it. We're working on the making it share. And
no
for
worries.
some reason, it just keeps saying stop sharing. But do you have your Braille Bible with you to read that Corinthians 7?
I do.
Read that about marriage, because I think that's something very important.
All right. Johnny Johnson is taking another walkthrough through the Bible, and
You can run the best campaign.
hey, here we go.
You can even become the
Yeah, it's
nominee.
working now. Thank you.
And you can have the election stolen from you.
Well, there's one soundbite.
Oh, I'm sorry. He stopped it now, Alan. You can. We're going to start the video now.
Okay.
We want people to watch this and tell us what you think.
Don't forget to leave the comments that you might have down in the comments line. We'll review those. And
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes. So that was a very tainted election. And in that sense, it's illegitimate.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he knows he didn't. He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Stolen emails, stolen drone
Stolen drone. Stolen election. Welcome to the world of unprecedented Trump.
So do you believe President Trump is an illegitimate president?
Based on what I just said, which I can't retract.
The Russian attempt to have the election, and frankly, the FBI is weighing in on the election, I think makes his election illegitimate.
There was a widespread understanding that this election was not on the level. We still don't know what really happened, Isaac. I mean, there's just a lot that I think will be revealed, history will discover, but you don't win by 3 million votes and have all this other shenanigan stuff going on and not come away with an idea like, whoa, something's not right here.
The outcome of the election was affected by their interference, and now we need to know, to what degree, if any, the Trump campaign was actually in collusion with Russia.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. So of course he's obsessed with me. And I believe that it's a guilty conscience.
We actually won the last presidential election, folks. They stole the last presidential election.
And Al Gore won that election. I think he won it anyway.
Actually, I think I carried Florida.
Bush versus Gore. A court took away a presidency.
If all the votes were counted in Florida, that Al Gore would be president today and George Bush would be back in office.
I come from Florida, where you and others participated in what I call the United States coup d'etat.
There's no doubt in my mind that Al Gore was elected president.
I rise to object to the fraudulent 25 Florida electoral votes.
I must object because of the overwhelming evidence of official misconduct, deliberate fraud, and an attempt to suppress voter turnout.
It is signed by myself on behalf of my diverse constituents and the millions of Americans who have been disenfranchised by Florida's inaccurate vote count. The Supreme Court, not the people of the United States, decided this election.
Speaking to a Democratic group in Chicago Tuesday, he made it clear he thinks Al Gore was the winner.
By the time it was over, our candidate had won the popular vote, and the only way they could win the election was to stop the voting in Florida.
Catherine Harris, Jeb Bush, Jim Baker, and the Supreme Court hadn't tampered with the results, Al Gore would be president.
The Supreme Court elected the president. 2004, yes. Al Gore won the state of Florida in 2000, although not the presidency.
But the Supreme Court tampered? That's a large charge. The Supreme Court stopped the counting of the votes, and if they'd let the count go on, Al Gore would have got the necessary votes.
The Supreme Court selected George W. Bush as the president. He was not elected. There is overwhelming evidence that George W. Bush did not win this election.
What I observed as a voter, as a citizen of Illinois 4 years ago, were troubling evidence of the fact that not every vote was being counted.
I don't think that George W. Bush won the election in 2000 against Al Gore because I think he probably lost Florida and also that nationwide.
If you invite me back on this show in about 8 weeks, I think you're going to learn that Al Gore actually did get all the votes there.
The court has been thwarting formation of the popular will, the most spectacular example being Bush versus Gore, where the majority by a 5-4 vote enjoined the counting of more than 100,000 ballots in Florida and essentially gave America its first court-appointed president.
I think in 2000, everybody thought, well, he did win the election, Al Gore.
After the election, when you stole the election, you came back here and said, get over it. No, we're not going to get over it.
You know it, I know it, they know it. We won that election.
Constantly shifting vote tallies in Ohio and malfunctioning electronic machines which may not have paper receipts, have led to additional loss of confidence by the public.
The right to vote.
Okay.
Wow, Johnny, that's super fascinating that you took us 20 odd years back in time to the year 2000 to revisit something that is not a new phenomena out there. The alleged tampering of the elections, stuff we can't even, we shouldn't even be covering here, I don't think.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, are you still there?
Still here.
Oh, okay. I thought it was interesting. They said like, get over it, and move on. And it's almost like a deja vu. when we see all that stuff.
You know, it's interesting because the electronic systems were not in place during the 2000 election as they are today. So there were what were called Chads. I believe the Chads are what they were called. They're just basically hole punches that are recorded with a ballot and that kind of thing. And apparently there were a few of these that were hanging around and not fully and completely punched. So, you know, a lot of these folks that are like, go back to the paper ballots. Well, we had issue with the paper ballots in 2000, as we currently enjoy some issue with our current systems in place. And so that's why the censorship is all over the place with regard to what we can say, what we can talk about. You know, this kind of thing. Go ahead.
We asked the 1,067 people to share this. And if you haven't subscribed, because a lot of people watch our show and they don't subscribe, go ahead, please subscribe and like the show, so it pushes the algorithm out. Because when I found that video on the GOP website, and it is all Democrats, no Republicans at all Democrats. From Obama, the biggest lying, well, Biden is the biggest lying president we ever had. I think that's in the next segment where they show Biden. But if you like this one, if we get about, I'm gonna do a conservative 300 likes, we'll show part 2. If not, then we'll move on to something else next week. But Alan, let's get to you sharing like the Corinthians 7, and then we're going to get to Jennifer Lawrence Nightmare on Elm Street, and then we'll get to the Constitution. It's going to be, we're going to go a little bit over today.
All right. Well, here at Innervision FM, we're not afraid to say that we love our Lord Jesus Christ. We're not afraid to give him all the glory, all the honor, all the praise for what he does for us, what he does to move within us, to keep us, sane in these crazy times. These words that are written in his book are unchanging words, and they're good for thousands upon thousands of years, even if, there might be different translations, different Bibles, this kind of thing. The thread of his words remain the same. Johnny's been going through 1 Corinthians, and this is a very awesome book because it talks a little bit about, well, a lot of things. He's in chapter 7 currently. Often it's termed as the marriage chapter. There's some interesting mysteries in here, so we'll just dive right in. Now, concerning things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Verse 3, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Now I'm going to stop right here and kind of go into it a little bit.
That's a good place to stop right there, because I have a feeling that a lot of we call them like illegitimate babies, wouldn't have been born in the South during the day if the husband, when the wife says, well, if the woman knew that she shouldn't say no to the husband and sort of like say, okay, this, I share my body with you, you share your body with me, then he wouldn't have to go out into the slave shack and get a belly warmer and then produce a bunch of mulatto kids, which then they have to start the United Negro College because he couldn't put those illegitimate kids with his regular kids. He had to put them in another college because he felt guilty about, going out on his wife.
It's interesting to bring that up, Johnny, because that's exactly the hard, cold truth of the matter is the United Negro College Fund being started so that the white gentleman or the white lady with the mulatto children could still enjoy the status that they have and still provide an education for their children in a way. This has also been weaponized quite a bit, and it's where man gets in there, humankind gets in there and decides to twist up the word. This is meant to be something that says, the woman doesn't have power to withhold, neither does the man have power to withhold their body from each other. So this can also be used as a weapon, and it's not cuddly. It's something that's that needs to be prayed over and rightly divided. And this kind of thing. I'm not a preacher guy, so I find it hard to even imagine why that would even take place. The wholesale defrauding of the human condition by using that to beat somebody over the head with it. The Bible's never.
Yeah, but you think like, okay, say if a guy, he was married to a unbeliever, but he became a Christian, and so she was playing under the world rules, not the Christian rules. So that's because it talks about that later. If your wife is not a believer and she chooses to stay with you, don't seek to divorce her. If she leaves, let her go.
Yeah, absolutely. There doesn't have to be all of this back and forth falderall, this idea of, for lack of better terminology, there doesn't have to be this narcissism that takes place where, well, my attitude, my power, my stuff over your power, your attitude, this doesn't even need to be.
My body, my choice. That leads right into that.
That's right.
And because I'm pulling out stuff that I read in the whole chapter, which we're not going to read the whole chapter, but it was just we just want to point out a little bit more, read a little bit more about what he says about marriage. And believe me, you guys, if you're single and you haven't been married, you're like 20, 21, 22, or you've never been married before, this is a lot of wisdom, man. There's a lot of wisdom, and you don't really know this stuff until you've been in the marriage. And what he says is you're gonna suffer like troubles, and you're not gonna be. And when you're single, you can focus on God and do and please Him. But when you're married, you're gonna focus on that wife and vice versa to please her, and that's gonna be your example to God and Jesus, like loving a person. And it is difficult. Believe me, it is difficult, especially when the person's right there in the house and they can see your hypocrisy. I know this lady once that her husband, he was in the church, but he didn't want no one to know that he drank. So he would park the car away from the liquor store, send her in to get the liquor, so nobody would see him go in.
It's hilarious. I used to smoke cigarettes, and I used to drink a bit myself back in the day. And I entered into a liquor store to get a pack of cigarettes and a little bit of libation. And I ran into an old pastor of mine, and he was mortified that he ran into me. To the point where he didn't say anything to me. I recognized his cologne that he had, and I says, wow, that smells like Pastor so-and-so's cologne. And he says, well, it is my cologne. How you doing there, Alan? And he's all embarrassed. And it says, hey, man, you're a guy just like I am. Who am I to say, what's right, what's wrong, as I'm sitting here buying my libation and I'm buying my cigarettes. It does continue on in verse 5 where it says, defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves
to prayer.
Well, to fasting, to prayer, to come together again, and so that Satan doesn't have the power to tempt you, basically. So basically, if you're gonna go ahead and fast and pray and this kind of thing, leave off the activities which are given to folks in marriage, and only in marriage, except for a time where you come back together and you that's kind of a mystery type of thing. What goes into that is, it's up to you guys, really. It's up to the man and the woman to come to that. And in verse 6, Paul kind of goes into the fact that he's speaking this by permission and not by commandment by God. So basically, if you're going to abstain from certain activities, go ahead and abstain. It's not really a commandment. It's a thing given by permission. It's something to show discipline to God first, and then to your spouse second. It is kind of how I take it. Wouldn't you say, Johnny? Or
yeah, yes. And should we jump to what it says to our version, or do you want to, or is it a little bit more in that part? If you're a virgin, don't seek to be married, but if you do marry, you have a sin. And if you're treating your virgin, the woman that you're engaged with, if you're getting a little bit too frisky and you can't control yourself, marry her. You're not sinning, but you're just taking care of that attraction that you have between the two of you. And then that's where it talks about, but there will be trouble. There will be troubles because women think differently than guys, and sometimes you get in a tug of war over those thought practicing, rather than just chill out and say, okay, let's see if we can understand each other a little bit more, and agree to disagree in some fashion.
And that starts in about verse 8. It starts talking about, I say, therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. Now, Paul was pretty much celibate. He spent a lot of time in dungeons. Dungeons being not just a jail cell, but a place where human waste material from the castle or whatever would enter and drain into these places where they'd lock these folks up. So oftentimes they'd be imprisoned in feet of filth, basically chained to a wall, and have they'd be swimming in filth.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So-
it's not like the prisons of the day. And your family, if your family or friends didn't take care of you with foods, it would be hard set for you to be surviving in that atmosphere.
Yeah, generally, it basically took about 2-3 months for somebody to go ahead and expire in these dungeons. And Paul lasted for up to 2 years at a time, some scholars say. And wow, I tell you what, that's fascinating for me.
They were tough men back in those days.
Yeah, he was definitely a tough guy. He was definitely a very tough individual. In fact, I suspect that a lot of society today would have a difficult time doing a third of what our forebears have done. I mean, we will see. We will get to live some of this out.
Oh, and let me interject this. Dr. Sebi, who died a few years ago, he did this plant-based eating and did all that stuff. I forgot the country he was in, but they had a rule that if they catch you with more than like $10,000, yeah, 30,000, they would hold you, and they put him in jail, and he didn't want to eat the food they were giving him, and it was pretty much like this, and he ended up dying in that jail cell. And people said, well, they killed him, but 83-year-old man in similar conditions, like what Paul was in, you just don't last that long.
That's right.
And so even today we have prison systems, not in this country, because we've seen the really pamper a lot of these prisoners in this country, but in a third world country or Moscow, I don't know if it's that tough in Moscow, but it is tougher. You don't have a TV and weight room, and I don't think you have all those luxuries in Moscow jail where Brittany Brenner is staying. So, and she might have a little bit better because she's a political prisoner of same, but yeah. But anyway, I didn't want to stress that out too much, but I just wanted to give people a perspective, and leave your comments in our comment line. And in Facebook, well, I sent out something where people can actually communicate with us, but I didn't send it out to the connections that we have. But anyway, should we go to Jennifer Lawrence and then to the Constitution?
Sure. Jennifer Lawrence, she's back in the news. People know her as J-Lo. Is that the same lady?
No, she's an actress. She's an actress.
Okay.
Movie actress. And she, I guess in 2017, she was on Tucker Carlson's show, and she was babbling about climate change and all this kind of stuff. And he called her out and said, you're silly. You're talking stupid. The weather changes all the time. And she had she's been triggered ever since. So she said, members of her family are conservative, and that triggers her, and she still has nightmares concerning that. And she says, people should get involved with politics because politics is killing people. And I agree, it's killed 62 million unborn babies. So yes, politics can kill many people, and then the catch and release that has killed people. The political system where the source has put in prosecutors that won't prosecute but let prisoners out. The stopping of bail, that is political, where people don't have to pay bail, so they get right back out. And the girl that was killed in North Carolina, the guy was there in jail for 20 years because he kidnapped somebody when he was 16 years old, got out, he kidnapped this woman and killed her. The first guy that he kidnapped when he was 16, the guy said he forced him to go to the ATM machine, and he said that this kid would have killed me, but I started yelling, and somebody had noticed. But now the lady who was jogging at 4:30 in the morning, she didn't have the same opportunity, and I wish she would have had her constitutional Second Amendment gun so she could match up with him and give him life, not on this earth. Let's talk about the Constitution.
Okay. Well,
unless you want to add on to my tirade.
The Constitution is a very unique document in history altogether, world history. The reason for that being is it is a document, whether we're talking about the one originally written and ratified in 1786 and 1787, which is when the ratification took place, or whether we're talking about the modified or altered Constitution, which we appear to live under, which took place in 1871. One thing that is the same in both of those pieces of documentation is the idea that we, the people, are supposed to have the bulk of the power. So you've got the three branches of government, but we have to consent to be governed under these three branches: the legislative, which makes the laws, the judicial, which interprets the laws, and the executive branch, which basically executes what is being interpreted and what is being passed down as law, as long as it's constitutional. You see, the Constitution is set up as the supreme law of the land. So any of the legislation that we pass is supposed to pass muster with the Constitution, or otherwise it's not a law at all. Now, I would submit that 99%, or maybe less, of the laws that we have today are questionable at the very least when you stack them up against the United States Constitution. There are quite a few amendments that that people know a part of, like the First Amendment. People scream about freedom of speech, and maybe we need absolute freedom of speech, or maybe we need no freedom of speech, or maybe, but there's much more in that First Amendment. There's also freedom of the press, freedom of religion. It's the same with a lot of the other amendments that are within the United States Constitution. They might cover with some pretty broad brushstrokes some of the rights that we are given, which are not rights given to us by government or by humankind, but they derive directly from God. And that's why, that's why the Bible is so important. That's why God is so important to the folks in this nation that are sometimes labeled as conservative or labeled as those on the right. So you've got the Second Amendment that also is quite talked about, especially today. Did the founders really mean that we're to have comparable weapon systems that the governing body has, the standing army has currently? Some would say yes.
Or F-15 that was created in 1969, which we have better planes than that, but that's where Biden Brandon's mind is at, being that he's suffering from dementia, allegedly. Go ahead.
The interesting thing is some folks would say, absolutely, we are supposed to have the same like and kind of weapons that those in power have, and it's supposed to keep everybody on an equal playing field, keeping the honest people honest. The standing army being the army created even before we were a nation. So let's say 1774, 75, kind of bad on dates right here. I believe the United States Army was created. That was even before the Articles of Confederation and the Declaration of Independence were written and ratified and adopted as part of the United States Constitution in 1787.
Hey, let's pause. What about I'm now starting to think about, Ukraine and Russia are in a battle right now, and America and other entities are supplying weapons to match the Russian weapons. And wouldn't that be considered like they're imaging our militia on third world countries in doing this, matching weapon for weapon?
That's an interesting point, because you're talking large caliber weapons allegedly being placed into the hands of the citizens of the Ukraine so that they can fight off the evil Russian troops or whatever. And this is similar to rights that we are supposed to have here in the United States of America, where these same like weapons are supposed to be available allegedly to the general American public. Idea of assault weapons or the idea of banning these weapons, it just doesn't hold muster with the folks that believe that the Second Amendment is supreme as being part of that United States Constitution, as being part of that law of the land, which is supposed to supersede any laws that we make that don't add up or line up with the United States Constitution.
And just a little tidbit. My wife was telling me about a friend that was teaching in Africa, and because America has and other countries have given these tribal people weapons, and sometimes they have war against each other. Sometimes they'll just break out shooting, and the teachers, they have to go to a second level of the school underground because they're just shooting crazy, and bullets will shoot through the windows and things of this sort, pretty much like it is in urban neighborhoods where this four-year-old boy was getting his hair cut and a bullet went through the window and shot the 4-year-old boy. I think he survived, but it's similar to that. And as I heard from some of these rappers and straight out of Compton, they said they would wake up one morning and they would find like just a bag full of guns just laying there. And instead of being smart and taking those guns to the city, down to the police station and drop them off and say, stop supplying us with weapons. Let us live peaceably between each other. They took the guns up and continued their war between this gang and that gang. So I think America has, in some cases, been supplying the militia, but not the supposedly white supremacist militia, but maybe the offshoot of the imitation of the red Crips, Bloods, and the blue Crips, and let that game play out. But anyway, I diverse. I just keep thinking about all these things, and I'm just crisscrossing.
And that they're very valid points that you make with regard to the way that the gangs are indeed set up. It's a color war. It's definitely a red against blue, somewhat similar to what we're seeing here with regard to the democratically controlled government and the Republican community. Most recently, our president has decided to label essentially a half of America as undesirable in some way. The MAGA Americans, the MAGA Republicans, and I'm sure he tried to walk it back. Well, no, he only means the ones elected in office. Well, no, I'm afraid you can't walk something like that back. You cannot.
And think about the concept, make America great again. That's our enemy. Think of that concept from this installed so-called President Biden, Brandon. Make America great again. Those are the enemies.
Well, I just look at it this way, dude. I don't like to play the blind card, but I'm a blind guy. So I'm going to play this blind card like it's 11:59:59, and I got 1 second left to win $1 million in Vegas. I'm a blind guy. I'm sitting here and I'm looking for a job, and that's all I want. Just a job, just a something, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if I've got anyway, I'll leave that there. I just want a job. I don't want to be told that some guy up there, way high up there in the leadership, in fact, the most high office in the land, is losing his patience because I forgot to get a vacation package, or that I'm just some MAGA Republic, so I'm evil. I'm finished with that, Johnny. And I think that people need to get, but here's where we're stuck. They know on the left, they know that the folks on the right are going to be like, well, let's pull it in. Let's be peaceable. Let's try to do this with some public grievance. Let's write a letter. Look, you guys got 45 days to fix it, because if you don't, we will enact citizens' grand juries. We take this as the fourth branch of the federal government are the people, and we are consenting to be governed this way. And we are now withdrawing our consent. Simply doing these things by the letter of the law. They know that we're going to follow that letter of the law. So therefore, they know that we're not going to pick up any sort of arms and go do anything, because, well, they know that we are bound to those laws.
And you see,
they also know that they are not.
Yeah, you also seen like how they reacted to unarmed people going into the Capitol on January 6th, and no one on the left got killed that day, but 6 people on the right, 2 had heart attacks. 2 were bludgeoned by police, and 1 was shot in the neck. But the police that they said died afterwards of heart attacks or suicide, but the left will not bring that up in their fake news, and neither will the fake news channels, all of them that are fake, will not bring that fact up. You can continue from there.
Well, this is why we've got the censorship we've got, because we're allowing for it to happen. We are consenting to be governed in this way. The idea being that we need to withdraw that consent, and we need to peaceably air our grievances. We need to not only get involved at the local, state, and federal levels in whatever way we possibly can to try to take the country and put it back on the foundations it was originally meant to be founded upon. But the idea being that we need to do this in a peaceable manner, and they know this, so they know that for us, we can only go this far and no farther. But for them, there is no line that can be drawn in the sand. They can do what they want. They've got their F-15s. They've got their that will label half the country. It's up to us to get out there. This is more of an information war than anything. And so it's up to us to get out there and say, no, we're not really like that. In fact, there's a liberal TikToker that went to a MAGA rally and found, he went there looking for hate. He went there looking for prejudice. And instead, he found peace, he found love, he found acceptance. And that's what you're going to find as a rule with folks on the right is that.
One thing I want to add, I want to go back to the video that we showed at the beginning of the show because of the technical things. I had totally forgot some of this. In 1960, and this is maybe Trump handled it the way he did in 2020, but in 1960, John F. Kennedy, his dad was using Frank Sinatra to go to the mafia and to fix it in Illinois and Chicago.
Right.
Sammy Davis Jr. was going in the Black community because he really thought that this president was different. But it turned out that, it was pretty much the Democratic Party who started the KKK, who started the Jim Crow laws. They were who they were, Districrats. They were one and the same, just changing outfits. And the only one that didn't go forward was who was part of the Rat Pack. It was Frank Sinatra. It was Sammy Davis Jr. Was Dean Martin part of the Rat Pack?
Yeah, Dean Martin and I think Jerry Lewis.
Well, no, not Jerry. But I forgot that guy. Dean Martin says, "You guys, this party is never going to let let you get into their Camelot, especially to Frank Sinatra, because Frank Sinatra said, "Hey, once I do this favor for the next president, he'll let me in." And as soon as he got in, because it was ran by the father, they shut out Frank Sinatra. They shut out Sammy Davis Jr. Then Sammy Davis Jr. went to vote Republican, and then when President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, went back on his word, because the Mafia says, if we get you a president, just don't mess with us. So Robert Kennedy and him, they went back on the word and they started messing with the Mafia. And I think that was maybe in some of the steps of why it was easier to assassinate him, allegedly. I'm just putting that out there, right? Because the Mafia says, don't mess with us. We get you, we'll change the votes, we'll cheat for you. Now, Nixon, he knew that something was up, but he didn't say nothing. He said, I'll be back. So he waited 8 years and then he got the presidency. Now, bringing up to Trump, Trump says, no, I'm just going to keep talking about this. Now, I hope eventually he'll stop. And then he will just say, okay, can't change the past. This is where we are. Let's change here and now and the future. I hope he looks back at the future, at the past, because we have videos and you can analyze the stuff, right? And if I'm thinking of it this way, being a billionaire, I would hope and think that he's even smarter than I am. And he's thinking, look at how Nixon handled it when they did it back then and the Democrats got in. How should I continue past the November 8th elections going forward when I put my nomination into the hat? What do you think, Alan?
Well, there are a few theories floating around out there. Some of them rather outlandish.
Yes.
Some of them dealing with gold trim flags and admiralty law versus maritime law versus constitutional law. And I don't know about any of that stuff. I just know that we are on a course of division, and we cannot, Republican or Democrat, we cannot allow the powers that be to divide us in the way that they are seeking to do.
And stop blaming it on Russia. Every time
that's right.
Stop blaming it on other people. Look in the mirror. It's you. It's not Russia. Yeah. It's not Afghanistan. It's not any of these other places. It's you, Biden. It's you, Rhino Republicans. It's you, most of the Democratic Party. Not all, but the ones who are complicit. Should we say that you're just as guilty as the ones that are out there in front of the cameras, always throwing this junk across about Russia. Not Russia, it's you.
Well, not only that, Johnny, look at it this way too. This hurts the general public. This really does hurt the general public. You've got yourself that's a Republican. I've got, you got me, I'm a Republican. We've got some Democrat friends.
Oh yeah. And
the bottom line is, I'm going to tell you guys a little story. Just a week ago, I'm working with some folks, and I find out that just a harmless joke, or what I thought to be a harmless joke, was told. Some people didn't find it funny. Others found it absolutely hilarious, but it caused a rift. And now that Biden has come out of the woodwork and just poured fuel on that fire, so to speak, I got to wonder if I'm going to ever talk to this individual again now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And this is real. So when those that are in power sitting up there talking about how evil the Republicans are, or on the other side, how evil the Democrats are, I'm sorry. My buddy John over there and my buddy Jane over there, who happen to be Republicans or Democrats, I don't see them as evil. And I sure hope they don't see me as evil. But I will tell you this, if you've got a president that is telling your people, hey, these evil MAGA Republicans over there, they're going to eat that up. And so it's up to us, the MAGA Republicans, to show these folks that we're not evil. We're just like they are. We have two arms, we have two legs, we all bleed red, we all bleed the same color. And I suspect at the heart of everything, we're more alike than we are diverse and divided.
And with 3 minutes ago, because this turned into an hour show, I knew it was because of the video and all that other stuff. Okay. Just want to let people these two factions, especially on the Democrat side, they want to cause divisiveness because that's part of Marxism. You separate and divide, divide. And we have to stop playing along with the game. With the people that went into the Capitol and stopped the voting at that time, you're stupid. Because if you would have just let the process go, whether it went left or right, now they put you in there, and you saw the FBI people in the crowd saying, we have to go into the Capitol. We have to go in, right? And you listen to those people and you got misled, and now you're spending 18 months in prison because you didn't think about common sense. And when those people were going in and the agitators, FBI insurgent agitators were saying, go in, you didn't say no. Some people did, but the rest of you didn't listen. And we could have avoided the whole setup of January 6th. And now they're trying to set you up again by going into Trump's house and going to Melania's lingerie and then spreading out papers. Because I bet if they show the video cameras, which they didn't shut off, if they show before they went in and after, they'll see that those papers that they said that Trump spread out and was looking at wasn't there before they got there. They were only there after they got there. So they have video footage proving that this was all another setup to poke at the bear of the Make America Great group again. And all the stuff is just another smokescreen. So we won't look at the economy. We won't look at high gas prices. We won't look at the crime situation. It's just a mirage that the politicians who are Democrats and the Rhino Republicans are putting up to get your mind off of what is really happening. Don't be fooled.
That's right, folks. Don't be fooled, and don't take up arms. Don't take up arms. Do not become violent.
And it's 10 a.m. here in Colorado. You told them about our sponsors, right?
Yes.
Christian Brothers, Dr. Richard Damiano, Denver Foundation, Wells Fargo, and I forgot the
Colorado Arts Relief Fund.
Colorado Arts Relief Fund. Those are our sponsors. Thank you guys. If you want to sponsor our show, info at Innervision FM or paypal.me/Innervision Denver. If you want to give feedback to the show, info at innervisionfm.com if you want to become a sponsor. Thank you for it, man. And I'm going to go back and edit it, and we're going to cut this up and put this on our channel 56 Denver Comcast TV show because this was a good one. And sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning. We're two blind guys,
Yeah.
We trust Ira to do what they're doing, and then when it doesn't work, anyway. So when you were looking at what's her name, Hillary face, and you were wondering like, why is they showing Hillary face for like 3 minutes? It's because I thought you could hear the audio. So anyway, that's it. We'll see you next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Think positive thoughts. Good. I'll go out to see positive movies, plays, whatever, and we'll get back with you next week with more information. And who knows what else we'll talk.
Yeah, we
God
may
bless.
that Artemis moon rocket eventually go up. We'll keep you guys apprised on that.
All right. God bless.
God bless.